Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Back from Texas 2K, hanging out with Oliver the Shop Cat here. And we're going to work on the Miata. Today we're going to work on Brofab front hubs. Stay tuned. Here's our parts list. You obviously need the hubs. You're going to want to stake the nuts, so you want a cold chisel and of course a hammer. You're going to want safety glasses for that part of the job. A little bit of grease for the upright spindles. I use thread lock on the nuts, and then of course you need the appropriate socket and torque wrench that can go up to the torque spec. Up to 155 pounds, it'll say so in the instructions. Let's get started. I'm installing these Brofab hubs on my Miata because the factory ones were pretty torn up. So there's a few options out here. There's Miata hubs to make a billet, and then there's Brofab, and I'll show you what they look like here. These are a little bit cheaper of an option. They use a BMW E30 bearing setup that's been customized, and the install is very simple nowadays. It comes with really good instructions, but the way this has been set up is the old days you'd have to do some assembly, but now there's a sleeve right here. You can leave the sleeve inside the race. This is how it ships. This is how it ships completely. When you pull it apart, you end up seeing these parts here, and the concept is put a little bit of light grease here, slide it onto your hub assembly, washer will stack, torque the nut down, cap it, put your brakes back on. So let's get over to, we'll start on the right side here because we're also doing the Singular Motorsports brake ducting as well, as you can see. But let's get this right side on first. We'll get you set up. We're not going to speed up this video. You can see you're all set up on a tripod. The install couldn't be simpler. It's much harder to remove the old stuff because you're going to remove a nut and unstake it. But here I'm just putting a little bit of a high temp grease. This is mostly for just preventing the inner sleeve that comes to the bro hub from fusion welding to this upright here. So a little bit of grease here is all you need, and then it's as simple as you slide it on. Now when I'm sliding it on, I'm actually holding the sleeve in with my fingers. You'll see where my thumbs are located, and I'm just pushing it on to keep the sleeve on. It should slide right on. Before you do any of this, make sure you've cleaned up your hubs. Maybe some emery cloth if needed. I start with a razor blade and just keep doing more and more abrasive things until you get a smooth surface. Now you want to put the machined edge down against the hub assembly, so that way the flattest part is where the nut will torque on. Then I'm using a little bit of blue thread locker here. I just got a habit of putting blue thread locker on just about anything that's critical that I will eventually pull apart sometime. Do not want to use heat to pull apart, and do not want to have the chance of it coming apart. Also, you'll see here I will be staking the nut, but we're just going to throw a little thread locker on the nut and then thread it into place here. When you're using thread locker, that's entirely too much. The tube got stuck, but you just want a little bit on the threads and then just spin it on down. And there, I'm just wiping it off because I don't like thread locker going everywhere. Now I'll just want to grab a torque wrench after this and you'll be all set. I'll torque it down to the Miata spec and then move over to the left side. The Miata spec is it's a wide range. It's 123 to 159 foot-pounds of torque. I chose 140 simply because whenever there's a range, I tend to shoot for the middle, especially if it's a newly installed part. That way, if I have to reinstall anything, I'm not at the max limit and potentially stretching things. So you can see I'm just putting the torque wrench on. Now, my upright's going to move a little bit because I just did a power steering depower, or a rack depower rather, as well as I don't have the outer tie rods hooked up yet. So I have to hold it in place, but it's very easy to do. You don't need to have the brakes on or anything like that. But there, it's torqued down. So the last step, and I'm showing you the torque wrench here. The last step, of course, is you want to stake the nut. I'm using a cold chisel, and I'll go get that here. And we'll stake it down and just hammer it in, and then you're all set. That keeps the nut from backing out. Pretty critical to do. I'm very confident that with a staked nut and a little bit of thread lock on the threads, that nut's not going to back off in any sort of race situation. And ultimately, that's what you're going to want to use these for. If you're street driving your Miata, or even a lot of sanctioned bodies don't allow you to swap out the hubs, you don't need this part. But if you're putting sticky tires on, you're rubbing rumble strips, you're really sending it at the track, I would encourage you to look into the failure rate of the front hubs and the rear hubs for that matter. The front hubs is typically bearings, the rear hubs are typically flange failures. But regardless, safety first. You do not want a wheel coming off on the track. You don't want it coming off on the street, so spend the money. These are the Brofab ones. I went this route. My budget's getting chewed up. The Miata hub ones, also really good reviews. Those are full billet. They're more expensive, but you get what you pay for. Finished product shot. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Hopefully this video was helpful. Thank you.